How you feeling after this one tonight?
Boo! Yeah, it's a throwaway game if I've ever seen one, man. Like, there's not. I'm not worried about it in the slightest, and there's not much good to take away from it. It's a total throwaway game, and if you ask me, this was just ripe timing to run into this. I can't
Yeah.
believe they've done what they've done with their injuries so far, and absolute hats off to them. But it's just unsustainable. And then you run up against the Panthers, who have had if you look at their first like 10 games compared to, their last few, it just doesn't really make sense. They're on a little skid. Got big time PP whack from Maurice today. You knew they were just going to pull their stuff together tonight, and it was just matching up tough for the Maple Leafs. And finally, that depleted lineup caught up to them in my eyes. And it's a throwaway game. Hang it up, move on. There's nothing you need to change or go crazy about.
Well, I look at the lineup too ahead of the game, right? Second line, Nick Robertson, Pontus Holmberg, and William Nylander. We were at points where Marner, Matthews, and Nylander were playing on three separate lines. Like that was the level of depth. And now that's your second line. It's like, yeah, once you get to game 7, 8, 9, those things are probably going to start to catch up to you where it's like, it doesn't matter how well you play. You're going to run into someone like Florida here tonight who's going to have a no nonsense type of attitude towards the game, have a little bit of fire in there inside them as well, kind of saying, like honestly, like fuck those guys. They're 7 of 8 without Matthews. They're number one in the Atlantic. Everyone's talking about them like they're this big, difficult team to take down. Watch this. Like we're gonna be the ones to finish this.
Yeah, and when you look at that forward grouping, I mean, that's not even the Maple Leafs, dude. It's really not. Like, how many of those forwards is a legit helpful NHLer? Like, not
Look at the
not
third
the
line right now.
not the majority of them, man. It's
Yeah.
again, hats off. They did what they did with injuries, but that's just not a lineup that's gonna be able to sustain a whole bunch of 2 point nights, especially against the Panthers when they just got chewed out by Maurice. And you know that walking around that locker room before the game, the Panthers were like, now is the time. Like, be ready for
Yeah.
this. Everyone's dead friggin' serious. No one's messing around. Everyone's focused. Everyone's prepared. Drop the hammer and turn this thing around. You run that with them up against the Leafs lineup tonight. It was a recipe, but they've been doing it. So I had high hopes. I tweeted something that looks dumb now, and I don't really care. It was, if they do this tonight, they will be opening some serious eyes, and it's almost unexplainable with their depletion of their lineup, and they didn't do it. And I think it's justified that they drop one tonight. I'm not freaking out by any stretch. I'm not even criticizing. They were overdue for one of those.
Yeah, we were kind of in like a win. I don't know, like the other way. It wasn't even like a win lose or like a win win for us. It was like a win or nothing, like just a draw situation. Like we lost this game. I don't think you're too upset. I'm not too upset. I see some people in the chat who are like in a different mood about it, but like I really at this point I'm kind of just like, what? Like I don't know, man. I don't really care. Like let's go on to Tampa on Saturday and figure it out. This game was coming. It was around the corner. But if you win, it's like you said, we would have walked away and being like, oh, what a team. Like we're building
Totally.
something here. So I don't know. It's a weird vibe. I don't really know how to kind of get over that initial thought process. Like there's some positives I do want to talk about here, but outside of that, it's just kind of like,
Yeah,
whatever.
it was like win or shrug your shoulders, right? Is what it is. And now I think Matthews is going to play this weekend, and it's just like perfect timing for him. Okay, you did incredible while I was gone. Started to, reality started to sink in that you're a worse team without me, which it really is. I know the stats are weird, and it's just some leafy stuff going on with Matthews out of the lineup,
Yeah.
but long term, it's not very good for the team. I think it's not obvious from how they played the last 9 or whatever without him, but now that it's just perfect timing for back. They held up the fort as much as they could in all of these guys' absence, and now hopefully we're gonna get Nyes back sooner than later. I mean, Patches is starting to come around the down the barrel. Domi could be any time, and we're probably gonna get Matthews this weekend. Like, slow clap to the boys who held down the fort while those guys are gone, and now you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel when we'll get some bodies back, hopefully. And obviously the big one is Matthews here, which I would probably put a bet down that he would play this weekend.
I'm assuming he's going to play here as well. I see a couple comments in the chat. Tammy says, Zach, you should care. It's Florida. I get it. Like, I don't want to lose this game. That's the other thing. Pete Walton says we never want to lose. No, I get that. I don't want to lose. I'd love to go 82-0, but unfortunately, that's just not the reality of a season. You're going to lose anyways. And it's like, of games to lose, this is probably one to be okay with.
But those guys are looking at it just like, we want to win every game. I cheer for the Leafs and I hate the Panthers. Okay, if you want to just do that, that's very surface and that's fine.
Yeah.
But do you want to go deeper into it and like dissect a game and talk about like where they're at and what the expectations were? And there's games where we come on here just pissed right off at pathetic efforts and undisciplined
no, we never do
play
that.
and not sticking to a system. And it's not one of those. It's just not one of those. They simply didn't have the personnel. You think Paul Maurice wasn't like, hey, they got a bunch of, let's be honest, a bunch of nobodies up front. I mean, go past your top 2-3 guys and there's nobody there. Plug up the middle, keep them to the outside and make these guys work their balls off. They're not going to have enough talent to like beat you through the middle and penetrate. So that's probably the game plan. It looked like it was, and they came out hot. Like I said, they would have been super prepared for that game. Just unsustainable for the Leafs to push back against that with that lineup. That being said, if they had, which they've been winning lots of games where you didn't think they're going to win on paper during these injury problems, and hats off to them. But if they didn't, I just don't think it's you can expect them to keep doing that. But if they did somehow, it would have been an unbelievable win against someone who I'd want to beat more than anyone else at this point in time, like Boston and Florida. I want to beat them every single time, but I can understand why they didn't tonight is my point.
Yeah, and for those people who are kind of forgetting here as well, like you want to run down the list of players who's missing. It's not just we got a bunch of guys. It's Austin Matthews, Matthew Nyes, Max Pacioretty, Calle Yarncroke, David Kampf, Bobby McMahon left the game here tonight. Max Domi, Ryan Reeves. Like that's 8. That's 8. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot. That's a lot. You kind of said it. I want to ask you though, Rosie, like, I don't think that the Leafs strayed from a Berube system here tonight. I don't think that their effort lacked. I didn't have any issue with any of that here tonight either. Would you kind of pin this on just like, I know we've talked about it a little bit, so kind of getting you to go back in circles on it, but is this more just a matter of like, hey, they played the right way here tonight. They just weren't good enough to beat Florida. Like, they do not have the talent with this lineup to play against the Florida Panthers, no matter how well you play. If they show up, give Florida credit, they showed up and played well here tonight too.
Yeah, well, I think that's Florida's best. And I think you could, for the slide that they're going on and a team that's that good, and for the message to be sent by their coach tonight, and they're at home, and it's like, you think they're going to win 5 in a row? Like they would have some serious problems. And I don't think they have serious problems. They just, little Stanley Cup hangover. Their guns aren't firing right now and things, I don't think it's major issues with the Florida Panthers. And I just, you're going to get their best tonight. They're going to say, okay, boys, time to cut the bullshit here. Come prepared and do what we know how to do. They did just that. And as much as it wasn't like the Leafs beat themselves tonight. It just wasn't. They didn't have the firepower to handle that team over there because they're just not the best Toronto Maple Leaf team that they could ice. There's 8 guys missing from the lineup, guys. Like, that was the problem. And as much as there was effort and everything there, they had their chances. Like, there was some shots that could have gone in, and there was some chances that could have been converted, and they just weren't. You only need 2 of those chances to kind of get some puck luck to go in. All of a sudden, you're in the game through the first half, but they just never got any of that to go. Florida buried their chances. Kind of end of story. It wasn't really. It was kind of a. It was a 60-minute effort from Florida. I mean, did they give them a whole hell of a lot? Not really. Did they have any big breakdowns? No. Were they in control of all 60 minutes? Yeah, they were. And that's just kind of. I just say, yeah, that. The circumstances finally caught up to the Maple Leafs.
For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.